Tuesday, February 7th, 2023, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Today, we're going to look at why CBDCs, or central bank digital currencies, are all about the central bankers trying to hold on to their quickly waning power. It's nothing about providing the public with a sound currency or efficient currency. So that's what we're going to look at today. Before I start, I'd like to introduce the new member of the channel. It's Rudy. There he is. Some of you have not seen Rudy yet. He arrived home on Saturday, the 4th of February. He was born on the 1st of December. He is a Shih Tzu puppy. And of course, it's very sad that Billy is no longer with us. A lot of you, of course, know who Billy was. Billy was on that sofa for many years. He was a Shih Tzu as well. So now I'm going to take Rudy back out and come back to continue the report. He's too young to be on the sofa on his own. We don't want him jumping off and hurting himself. So before we go into the CBDCs, I just wanted to say that my thoughts and prayers are with the people in Turkey, Syria, and that part of the world. Yesterday when I did my report, I had heard about the earthquake, but there had been only one. And then it's gotten really serious, and it just goes to show how we need to be thankful for what we have and where we are and how lucky we are. So I just wanted to say that. So yeah, CBDCs are a hot topic, especially for people in the alternative, people who are, in my opinion, awake to what's going on, to the fact that we can't trust government anymore. Well, we certainly can't trust central bankers and their currencies, their fiat currencies. It's just a scheme to enrich themselves and live off our efforts, of course. Fiat currency, that's all it is. And they do that with the power of government, the monopoly power of government. And it's been going on for a few hundred years here in Europe. In the US, it's been going on and off for the last 230 years, I would say. And it's something that we need to look at, because central bank digital currencies, in my opinion, is not about improving the currency we have, because the currency we have, yes, it flows very easily. The technology is fine. Debit cards, online banking, and people complain, oh, sometimes it's too slow or too quick, but it's still very good. So it's not about that. It's about the fact that the general public is waking up to it and developing its alternative free market currencies. And am I saying that cryptos are the way forward? Not necessarily, but cryptos are a reaction to it. And of course, there's a lot of speculation about who created Bitcoin, but it was a response to the '08 crisis, because the white paper came out just after the '08 crisis, and people started to wake up. I mean, I've been awake to the fragility and the unfairness of the fiat currency system for over 20 years, since I started looking into the Austrian School of Economics, into sound money, into gold and silver. So it's a very important topic right now, because they're pushing the CBDCs, governments and central banks. So there's a couple of stories that are really interesting that shows there's a battle going on. The first one is one that I just saw this morning. I was going to talk about the other one that I'm going to cover in a second. But this one is UK to design a digital pound that could fend off future private tech rival. Notice how they use tech, but a private rival could be any kind of money or currency, really. It doesn't necessarily have to be tech. And their excuse, of course, is that they need to have the power, the bankers, the private bankers. And why do I say private bankers? Well, because they still control the Bank of England, despite the fact that we're told Bank of England was nationalized in 1946. I would venture to say that the big private banking interests in the UK control who's in charge of that institution. It also says the Treasury is involved, the UK government. And of course, as one of the Rothschilds said back in the 19th century, give me control of the money or the currency of a country, and I care not who makes the laws or writes the laws. So that's what it's about. They don't want you or me in charge of our money, our currency. We should be able to use whatever currency or money we want. And some people might think, wow, that's never happened. Well, it did. There was no Bank of England before 1694. But let's go quickly through this article. It says the UK Treasury and Bank of England are designing a digital pound that could supplant banknotes by the end of this decade and fend off a big tech competitor. Yeah, this is just, in my opinion, dishonest, because the problem is not the technology. Have you tried to send Bitcoin or Ethereum a small amount? It takes a bit of time. It's very costly. So this is just an excuse, I would say. And it says, with the decline of cash, ministers and officials think there's likely to be a need for a publicly backed digital currency that would sit in wallets on smartphones and could be used for shopping, much like notes and coins. Consumers already accustomed to fast digital payments would see few obvious differences, but the core infrastructure would be part of the central bank and could be guaranteed to be available for everyone to use. Officials believe the digital pound would ensure the BOE maintains control of the heart of the UK financial system and prevent any private company from keeping payments within a closed network. That's what it's all about. They want to keep the power. And why should they, though? Why should the one bank keep control of the whole system? And they've done a really bad job at it. In the last 15 years, this system almost died a couple of times. And how did they save it? Well, on our backs, by basically indebting the people of this country even more to keep this, not fit for purpose system of fractional reserve banking, whereby you put a pound in the bank and they create 10, and then they create even more. They rehypothecate through derivatives, through everything. So, my hope is that they won't succeed and that central banks go the way of the dodo bird. But that's a different subject. Just another point they make here, a final decision on whether to go ahead will be taken around 2025, the Treasury said, when it would decide whether the potential benefits of implementing a new payments infrastructure outweighs the cost and risks. I'm going to stop right here. The other thing I would say about being able to have cash outside the system, holding cash, and it's strange because cash really used to be the coins. The banknote that we call cash today was only a promissory note for real cash, gold and silver. But be as it may, the paper banknotes, they still provide a lot of privacy, and privacy is something that's really important as well. I think Doug Casey has spoken about that. It's not just about keeping control and being able to do things without being surveilled, but it's the privacy aspect of it. Western civilization was built on consensus, on privacy, on respecting the individual. It didn't evolve from being open to becoming authoritarian. And yes, I'm not saying Western society is always perfect, but it's gone the right way. It's become more open, and it's respected the individual and the individual's property a lot more than others. And that's why I think we've succeeded so well, Western civilization. But now that's all under threat, I would say, with these CBDCs. And I can't emphasize how important it is that we keep informing the public that it's not about providing you with a sound currency like gold and silver would. And that would be ideal, actually, to be able to have a physical gold and silver system running alongside maybe a private digital gold and silver. Who knows? But this is all about the central banks fighting for survival, because people are realizing that central banks are basically, they interfere with the free market. They've got nothing to do with free market, and they are a tool of the 0.1%. I won't even call them the 1%. So there's another story, the one that I saw yesterday, that made me want to talk about CBDCs, and this is on the good side, on the fight against it. And it seems like some countries want to fight against it, and in particular this country is Switzerland, of course. Here, as you can see, Swiss to vote on preventing cashless society, pressure group says, and this is from Reuters from yesterday. Many of you know that in Switzerland, if you can get enough signatures for a question or a topic, you will get a national referendum. So let's just go through this here. This is February 6th. Says Swiss citizens will get the chance to try to ensure their economy never becomes cashless, a pressure group said, after collecting enough signatures by Monday to trigger a popular vote on the issue. The FBS, Free Switzerland movement, says cash is playing a shrinking role in many economies as electronic payments become the default for transactions in increasingly digitized societies, making it easier for the state to monitor its citizens' actions. It wants a clause added to Switzerland's currency law, which governs how the central bank and government manage the money supply, stipulating that a sufficient quantity of banknotes or coins must always remain in circulation. There's no evidence of moves towards a cashless society by Swiss authorities. I would say probably because they know the Swiss wouldn't take it, and I don't think they will. Anyway, let's continue. It says FSB said it had garnered 111,000 signatures in support of the measure, above the 100,000 needed to trigger a popular vote. Under Switzerland's system of direct democracy, the proposal would become law if approved by voters, though government and parliament would decide how that law was implemented. It is clear that getting rid of cash not only touches on issues of transparency, simplicity, or security, but also carries a huge danger of totalitarian surveillance, FBS President Richard Kohler said on the group's website. He also views Switzerland as a European standard bearer for the defense of cash, as pushing through such guarantees in the EU would entail the almost impossible process of securing approval from all 27 member states. So I'm going to stop here. And one thing I would add, though, for the viewers here in the UK and other countries, but I'm not as familiar with the law in other countries as it regards to gold and silver. But here in the UK, gold is a legal currency. So is silver. And you said, what are you talking about? Well, the sovereign is a legal tender coin. It has a nominal or face value of £1. So do the half sovereigns, so do the gold Britannias, and so do the silver Britannias. So we might not be using them as currency, but we can still definitely use them as money to keep it outside this system, not just the current fiat currency system, which is not fit for purpose, but outside a possible CBDC digital pound system. And you're doing it all legally, and you're doing it also with no exposure to capital gains tax. For now, of course, things can change, but that's what it's all about. I think is finding alternatives and being aware, and hopefully you will be sharing this video far and wide so people realize that CBDC is just is not what it is. It's a move towards a totalitarian world, in my opinion. I mean, that article in the FT goes on to say that the Chinese version is more authoritarian, trying to distance ourselves from them. But I don't think it's true. So before we look at the markets, just want to say I'm going to put a couple of links to these stories below in the description so you'll be able to read them. So with that, let's quickly look at where the markets are this morning. It's 12 past 8 a.m. London time. We've got spot gold at 1873.50. It's up about $6 or 1/3%. The high's been 78 and the low's been 65. We've got spot silver at 22.37. That's up 11 cents. To the stock market, the Dow futures is down 74 points. NASDAQ 100 future down 34. And the S&P is down 8 points. To the currencies, sterling is down 1/4%. Is back below 120 at 119.86. Let's quickly look at where gold is in sterling terms. Well, we're at 1563. Recently, we reached 1590. We were breaking out from that 1578.80 level. I still think it's looking good for gold, and unfortunately bad for the currency that we have to use. The euro is down 0.2 at 107.02. So it looks like the dollar is correcting here after a sharp drop in the last few months. Do I think the dollar is going to go a lot higher for a long time? I'm not too sure, but either way, I think the currencies and the monies that are going to do well, of course, are those that are not printed out of thin air, i.e. gold and silver. The dollar is down 1/3% versus the yen this morning, 132.26. And the dollar is unchanged versus the yuan at 680.20. Let's quickly check the ruble. Dollar is a little firmer against the ruble, back up above 71, just above 71. So let's check the other currencies. Start with the Aussie dollar. I saw the RBA raised rates by 1/4%. They only expect to hit their inflation target in a couple of years. I personally think they're going to have a tough time. But anyway, Aussie dollar is up almost 0.5%, 69.14. The dollar is unchanged versus the Canadian dollar, 134.38. And the Kiwi dollar is unchanged at 63.02. Platinum is up $4, trading around 977. That's platinum. WTI crude is up 2.2%, trading around 76. Brent is up 2% at 82.58. And high-grade copper is up 0.1 at 404.80. So now we're going to check the bond market. Yesterday we saw yields actually spike quite a bit in the US and also in particular in the UK. As you can see here from yesterday, bond yields in the UK were up like almost 20, well, around 20 basis points, which is a big move. So let's just see where they are overnight. Well, the 10-year yield in the US 10-year yield is unchanged at 364. And let's see where we are in the gilt market. Well, gilt market, the yields are continuing to move higher. The 2-year is up another 1.5 basis points at 345. 2-year is important because that's what they price mortgages off. We're seeing headlines now. I saw in the mainstream media that there's competition amongst mortgage providers to provide the best mortgage possible, that rates have come off. But I think that might be a little bit premature. We could see that reverse very quickly. The way yields have been going up, and we need to keep an eye on these yields, of course. The 10-year yield this morning is up another 3.5 basis points at 328. And the 30-year is up another 5 at 376. And to finish off, a quick look at the Japanese government bond market, because that's really important as well. Right now, the BOJ has been able to calm that market down. We hit 50 basis points this morning or overnight in the JGB 10-year yield. Right now, it's trading around 0.49. So I'd like to wish you all a very good day, and I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye.